I am Adil Mansoor, or Adil Mansoor. Both, I use both names. I use he, him as pronouns, and I'm the creator, performer, co-director behind Amigon. That's happening at The Flea, co-produced by The Flea and Playco in association with Willie Mammoth and Kelly Strayhorn. And I'm really grateful and excited to be talking to you all. We are in performances now.
Get the impression Islam is a really big part of your life with your mom's work studying the Quran and your upbringing. Does its ethos ever inform the work you do or how you might view queerness?
When I think about the ethos of Islam and the way it intersects with my work and my queerness, I think about a lot of things. The first thing that jumps to mind is like ritual and discipline. I grew up going to Tarawih during Ramadan and Friday prayer all the time in Sunday school, and a lot of that time was spent in like deep ritual. And it was really beautiful, and being in like large community with, praying together and what it meant like to be doing these like really kind of beautiful ritualized actions. And that shows up in my theater practice all the time. I mean, even just going to a theater event and like the way we think about lobby space and how we enter and the conversation before the show and during the intermission, there's like all these patterns that show up. And they're really healing in both of those spaces for me. So ritual definitely shows up. And, as I'm getting older, actually, ritual's coming more and more into play with my queerness. It shows up with my chosen family, and we've like developed certain kinds of like, oh, this is the way we do this time of year. This is the way we like to do Sunday brunch together. I have friends that are having kiddos, and it's been amazing to see how our queer chosen family is thinking about ritual with young folks than another generation of people. And that brings me right back to Islam and like how much gratitude I have for the elders in my life that honored their rituals and brought me into them even as they were in like a completely different world. Like, I'm an immigrant, so they were on like a different planet in a certain way. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking about.
What motivated you to be so vulnerable in this play, in creating a production about your relationship with your mom?
When making a play about my mom, vulnerability felt central to the work in a lot of ways. One, I was actually, I think at that point in my life, I started working on this in 2019, so it's been a few years, and I was really guarded for a lot of reasons. I think sometimes I still am. And I was desperate to be vulnerable. Like, it's actually what I really needed to kind of break through some things. Therapy was doing a lot of it, and making art helped do more of it. So that's part of where it started. And then the other way I can answer that question is I've been really lucky to work with a co-director named Liam Gable. And a lot of the work the two of us are doing, and Liam's so good at this, is like really excavating the vulnerability in the work. They understand that the play is just so much more itself. The more vulnerable I'm able to be and the more grounded in my own truth I'm able to be. And they're really good at it. It's not the easiest thing to pull from actors all the time, especially someone like me who's not a very trained actor. I'm a director. And so it's actually part of the work. It's like working on the performance and vulnerability as a part of it. Awesome question again.
Your mother feels very reminiscent of other Desi/Muslim moms out there, including my own. If they were to watch Amigon, what do you hope that they would take away?
If other Desi and Muslim moms were watching Amigon, I hope they would leave the play feeling celebrated and honored and deeply respected. I hope. I worked really hard. Like every time we were making an artistic decision, we often would be like, okay, how would Adil's mom feel about this? Like from the carpets to the way the wood works to like so many of the choices in the play were about what would a me like? I wanted to make a play that, our moms would struggle to hate, that they would just fall in love with this work. The ways in which I know my mom loves me. Even if there are things that are challenging about that relationship. And so I think that's primary, actually, is that I hope they would leave the play feeling loved because that's how I feel.
Now I want to pivot a little and ask what's given you joy about the process of writing and performing Ammigan.
There's a lot of ways joys have happened in this work. The thing I'm thinking about right now, and that is actually just getting to mount it in New York City. We've been working on it for 5 years with a lot of the same people. Our design team and our co-director team are folks I've known from grad school, from all kinds of parts of my life, and I adore them. And I get to make art with my chosen family. Like that is so special. So that brings me a ton of joy. And then just last night was like another incredible example of like incredible joy and like deep gratitude. After the show here at the Flea, Play co-hosted this incredible event about queering Muslimhood, and it was like with 3 playwrights, 3 theater artists, and it was amazing to like be in a room full of queer folks, brown folks, Muslim folks, immigrant folks. There's a prayer room upstairs and people's shoes were off like next to my dressing room, and I was like, shoes, and I was like, oh, folks are praying. They're praying before my play, which is like the most incredible feeling. It's like so full circle. And then the talk back to happen after with these 3 just genius people who I deeply respect, and to be in conversation with them in this way, that is a night I will remember for a very, very long time. So that's another example of just like immense joy.
How do you think working on a production like Ammigan might inform other projects that you work on moving forward?
Working on Ammigan has already informed the work I want to make next. I even make a joke about it in the middle of the play where I like kind of hint at a sequel. This is my mom play, and I hope one day I get to make my dad play. Very different. My father passed away 10 years ago, so I don't get to collaborate with him in the same way. And what's interesting, I know he would have loved it. He would have been so excited to make a movie with me, which is not what I make. I don't know how to make a movie. But like that, he has literally said, he used to say, let's make a movie together. I was like, I don't know what that means. So I want to make my dad play. And there's material in this show, in Ammigan, about Arabic and Urdu. And while writing it, I had this realization that because Urdu was my first language, the first language I ever dreamed in was Urdu. That's how I dreamed until I was like 6, at least. And now I can barely speak Urdu. I can understand it and I can like fight my way through it, but I sound kind of like a 7-year-old or younger even, making his way through Urdu. And I wonder what that has done to my brain. What does it mean that I can no longer speak the language I first dreamed in? Like, that's gotta have done something to me, no? And so I know there's a project floating in there somewhere. So like Ammigan is like birthing tiny other projects. And the last thing I can share is like something about Ammigan I'm really drawn to is that I'm performing dramaturgy. Like you listen to me and my mom talk about plays like nerds. And I'm kind of curious if I can live perform dramaturgy. So Ammigan, it's recorded. You like hear our conversations about a play. And I a little bit want to stage people talking about plays. As I'm saying it out loud, I'm judging myself, but I know there's something there. Thanks for that question.
I think a lot of queer Muslims have and will see themselves in you, in Ammigan. If you had anything you could say to a younger version of you going through that struggle of breaching the gap with your mom, what do you think you would say?
That question's like really hitting me. In a certain way, the play is that, right? It's like me so much of the play is me sharing photos of my 5-year-old self and being with that kid and like really respecting and honoring him. And if anything, what Ammigan has taught me is that 5-year-old maybe knew some magic things that 39-year-old Adil has forgotten. And if anything, I'd want to listen to him. Like, I don't know that I have that much to tell him other than he's like freaking awesome, you know? But I'm lucky enough. I'm a teacher and I spent a long time teaching like high school age, queer and trans young people. about theater through theater, and they taught me about the world. Like that's where I learn most of the ways in which I think in a lot of ways right now. Like I learned so much from younger folks. Um, and I really appreciate this question about what I say, but really all I can think about is like how lucky I would be to get to listen. That's what I'm thinking about.
How do you think art might inform your relationship with Islam or the work that you do with queer and trans youth? Can you tell us more about what art means to you and why it's so important to have stories like ours in the media landscape?
Oh, yeah. I mean, art is central to the work I get to do with queer and trans young folks. I've spent a lot of time devising plays over time. I used to work at the Andy Warhol Museum where we would like host all kinds of incredible queer events, including queer prom. And having art as a base, as a thing to look at, is an incredible way to start a conversation. This is going to sound weird, but it's maybe one of the most efficient ways to start a conversation. Because it just gets people talking, it frees people up, it like allows us to put something on something else, right? Like my mom and I can deal with some big stuff because we're talking technically about Antigone and Ismene. So art to me is critical in conversations, and so deeply powerful in that way, is if we can get it to get people talking. And in terms of how does art affect my relationship or my understanding of Islam, one way in is like I think about mystery, curiosity, and surprise. As a director, one of my like core jobs, at least for me when I'm directing a play, is thinking about surprise. That if I'm directing comedy, laughter is surprise. If I'm directing a drama, the event of the play is a surprise. Like how do I surprise the audience? The second they know where we're going, why is it live, right? We can just like pause, forward, get to it. And curiosity and mystery they're kind of an interesting, complicated way into Islam. One, that's a way that I'm often viewed as a Muslim presenting person in the world. There is like a fear, right? So how do I contend with that? How do I surprise people? And how can I be curious again about Islam? Maybe is like a way to finish this thought up. Yeah, that feels really good. How can I be curious? Thank you. Thank you for these incredible questions and being in conversation together. I really appreciate it. And I look forward to connecting with you all and being in conversation. Come check out the show, Amigon. We are so grateful. And thank you again. All right. Bye.